Thank you for joining us for Discover How to Go Green using Bluebeam Review, presented by SolidCAD. My name is Meredith Jung. I'm the Technical Manager here at Bluebeam, and I'm so happy to be guiding you on this learning course, AI Continuing Education course, on Discover How to Go Green using Bluebeam Review. Before we get started, a little bit of background on SolidCAD. SolidCAD is a Bluebeam Gold partner that provides software and professional services across Canada. They specialize in technology that supports multiple industries, including architecture, engineering, construction, civil infrastructure, manufacturing, and media and entertainment. With one of the largest teams of industrial technology experts across Canada and the ability to serve in all time zones and both official languages, SolidCAD is a great option for your Bluebeam needs. Moving forward, though, today we are doing an AI continuing education course on discovering how to go green using Bluebeam Review. As technical manager here at Bluebeam, I have been with Bluebeam for 5 years now, and before that I did roughly 5 years as an audiovisual contractor. So I've got a little bit of experience in the field, a lot of experience here at Bluebeam, and hopefully can give you lots of great tips for how to go green using Review. Assuming you are watching live, upon completion of this course, you will earn credits as an AIA member, or you can get a certificate of completion upon request. I know those certificates work for several different organizations. To get that certificate, though, you need to be watching this live with us today, and you do need to be logged in individually. So if you're not logged in on your own account, please go ahead and register for the webinar and log in on your own so we can give you credit for this. Now, this course is not approved by the AIA. It's just registered for those professional education credits. You can read the rest on this slide if you want to know the rest of the AIA disclaimers. But what I want to do is go ahead and get into today's presentation. So today's presentation, Discover How to Go Green, talks about working beyond your desktop, okay? So the goal here is to give you the skills to do PDF creation, markup, editing, and collaboration for a paperless workflow, and learn how to reduce your paper usage by more than 85% and cut your paper-related costs in the process. Now, we won't talk too in-depth about the PDF creation today. At the end, if you have any questions about creating PDFs using Review, you can ask them, but we've got both plugins and a print driver, so it's very easy to print from any program straight to PDF. What we are going to talk about today, though, is how you can adapt your paper workflows or your analog workflows into digital workflows as an architect, engineer, or contractor. And we're going to talk about a variety of workflows across the project lifecycle. So expect today that we're going to touch on various different tools that will help you, whether you're right at the top doing design review or you're already at the end of your project looking at punch or even project handover. We're also going to teach you how you can edit and mark up PDFs on the go and collaborate in real time from anywhere by using Review, either on a Windows tablet or an iPad. We'll show you some of the tools that will be specific to those devices, even though I'm on a Windows desktop today. We'll also look at the PDF editing tools within Review and the PDF markup tools and how those can be used to help us go paperless. And finally, we're going to look at how measurement tools can really take the last bit of paper out of a lot of our workflows and streamline the work that we're doing in terms of performing our quantity takeoffs and then ultimately creating estimates from those. So let's go get started. As I mentioned, we have a lot to cover, so I'm jumping right into Review today. And as you can see here within the Review interface, I've got a pretty simple setup going on. I want to introduce you to where I'm going to find all of my tools today before we get started. As you can tell, we've got menus and command bars up top. I've got side panels, 1, 2, and 3. And then there's a variety of toolbars that are also available. I don't have them showing right now because what I'm in is a profile, and this profile is called the Simple Profile. And it makes it easy for me to sort of see what's going on, maximize my screen real estate. But if I wanted to see all those other tools, all I would have to do is click here on Profiles, switch from Simple into any one of my other profiles. I personally really like construction and design review. Today I'll use design review, and what you'll notice is that I've got some new tools that popped up. I have my side panels, and I also have some toolbars here on the right. Okay, so with those toolbars, these toolbars are completely customizable. I can right-click to turn some new ones on. Maybe I want to show a digital signature toolbar. You'll notice it popped up top here. I can move this down to the side and have all the toolbars I need here in my profile ready for me to use while still maximizing my screen real estate. All of these customizations that I do, whether I'm turning on toolbars, opening side panels, all of this can be saved to the profile, and I can even create a new profile. So just add this as a new one and then export it for everyone on my team to use. When I export it, I email it out to them, they double click, we can all be using the same set of tools. One of the key things to going paperless is making sure that we're using a standardized set of tools, just like we would have been when we were using paper. Now that we've talked about our interface and where we're going to access all of our features, I do want to talk about one last place to access features, and that is this tab access. You'll see me use it throughout today. I'm going to use it right now to get into file access. And this is where all of my recently used files, along with my most used files, are all pinned and saved for easy access in the future. You'll notice I've pinned these files into categories so that if I needed to, for example, get into my specification or jump into my drawing, it's very easy for me to get back to those. I don't have to dig through any folders. I use them all the time. It makes sense that I would have them available for one-click access. Now, when it comes to navigating these documents, you're going to notice that Review navigates through these documents the way that you expect it to. And that's really important as you're trying to move into paperless workflows, making it easy to get through documents. On this 8.5 by 11-inch document, my scroll wheel scrolls up and down throughout the document. So you can see here I go, I'm scrolling through my document. However, with this large format document, there needs to be a more intuitive way than scrolling up and down. It's 42 by 30 inches. I'm American, so sorry for the inches here. And what you'll notice is as I scroll my scroll wheel, rather than panning or scrolling up and down through the document, it actually zooms me in and out, and I can click to pan across the document and zoom in somewhere else. So it's very easy to get around these documents here within Review. Now, my screen can get split up to 16 times. It's a small screen right now because what you've got going on with this screen is that I have just my laptop up, but I could easily look through my specs on the left, look at the design on the right where I'm going to be using this cold formed metal framing. The other thing that I can do here is I could actually, for example, if I had 2 revisions of this drawing, I could look at different spots on the same drawing. So maybe zoom in on a different stairwell, or we could sync these views and have both views synced on the same stairwell. Okay. As I pan and zoom, you'll notice that the view on the left and the view on the right work the same. We've got our escalators there, a couple more sets of stairs. Very easy for us to navigate around these documents. By the way, if you have any questions that come up during today's presentation, please feel free to type those into the question window. I'm going to pause every now and again to answer them, and then at the very end, we'll do a live Q&A. We'll answer all your questions. But go ahead and type them in now to the question window. Okay. I don't see any right now, but feel free to type those in. So now that we can navigate this drawing, it's pretty easy to do. The number one workflow that we're probably going to be doing, or the tools that we'll be using, is we're going to be reviewing these documents. If you think about document reviews, we review documents for constructability, we review the designs, we do QA/QC reviews, right? We send them off to permitting offices who review our documents, and we have to get their comments back. And then, of course, we'll review submittals and other different packets of information. All the tools that you need to review your documents are all available here in Review. So as you're trying to go digital and you're looking at solutions, the question becomes, can you replace pen and paper? Well, right away we can add in the normal set of text boxes, callouts, typewriters, question here, right? The pens and papers, they're all here. We've got some highlighters so we can highlight specific, text. And I'm clearly dragging a little fast today, but we've also got some pens here. We could freeform highlight that. There's shapes that meet all of our needs in terms of shapes along with lines. If we wanted to mention that there should be actually an arc to the wall here to make it architecturally look pretty cool, we could add that in, and then maybe with our shapes we would cloud that. And as the architect, we could be asking the engineer if it's feasible for us to make this curved line here. How would we do it, right? So we can say, let's make this a curved wall. Is it feasible structurally? Okay, so great, we can make that comment, move it around, or even more easily, I did a cloud and a call out, but let's make this easier on ourselves. I'm going to delete both of those and use a tool that's unique in here, which is Cloud Plus. So here's the cloud, here's the call out already attached. Is that curved wall? Is it structurally feasible? Okay. So real easy. We've put in what we'd like to happen here, and we've made a comment on it. Now, reviews don't always happen right away. Sometimes we are reviewing things after we're into the construction phase. There's an issue on site. Well, we could drop that issue straight on the page too. So any image that we have can easily be dropped in. I have some images here. One being of some ductwork that hasn't been done properly. Here's that improper ductwork right onto the page. And then again, using those line tools, here's a quick arrow that shows where the problem is. We can even, again, use our Cloud Plus. We'll cloud over that image, ductwork improperly done. And we can pretty much add comments in any way that makes sense for us and the work that we're doing. So real important here, being able to communicate effectively on this page. Now, communicating effectively is not something we do in a bubble. It's something we do with collaborators. And if you remember back to the days of paper, in the days of paper, we used to have multiple colors of pens, right? You would use pens for different types of issues, or sometimes different team members would have different colored pens. That way, when we went to compile everyone's comments together, we knew who had said what. We can do the same thing here digitally. The nice thing about going digital is we don't have to get rid of the work that we've already done and the workflows the way that we're used to doing them. So let's say, for example, our comments here are all going to be comments made by me and my discipline. And sorry, I am clicking all over the place today. It's a little early here in California, so I'm still waking up. Let's say that though these comments here, I'm going to turn them all green. That way everyone who looks at them will fill them in. We'll give them a nice fill opacity so you can see through. And we're going to change the text color on these two into a nice dark green. So now it's very easy to see all of these comments. In addition to having the comments color-coded, let's also make sure that the comments have a subject for them. I'll make the subject for this one changes. We could make architect, we could make questions, we could pretty much put anything we want into the subject here. The nice thing about the subject is that it's going to allow us to do more with these comments down the line. Now at this point, we've changed all of these comments to look the way that we want. I think I accidentally got rid of the cloud here, changed my line styles, but let's go ahead and make those line styles clouds again. There we go. So this looks exactly the way that we want it to now. What's next to do? Well, the next thing to do is to save these customizations so that our next comments, we don't have to redo it. Now you'll notice if I come back into my defaults for this Cloud Plus, my defaults are still red. These are the default settings. But rather than changing those defaults, because sometimes we may be on a project where we want that red, we can actually just use these customized tools. So coming back into that tab access, I'm going to come down into the tool chest, and you'll notice here in my recent tools are all the tools that I've used so far, including this Cloud Plus. And I've got an exact replica. Let's make this a curved wall. Is it structurally feasible? If we wanted both sides to be a curved wall, we could throw that back on the page as is. Or we could double click it and we could just use the properties of it to make a new comment, but have that new comment include the exact same properties. So here we go. Make this sink lower for handicap accessibility. Okay. And would help if I spelled sink as an actual sink. Here we go. So make this sink lower for handicap accessibility. It's the same properties. Everyone's going to know the comment was made by me, but it's all in green, but it's all new text. So it's the same properties, but new text. The nice thing with these tools is we can easily save them. I can drag and drop it into my tools. I could drag and drop it into one of these pre-made tool sets that's provided by Bluebeam with this particular profile. Or I can just use one of these tools that's already built in and created. Once a tool set is created, you never have to recreate it. Just like that profile, these tool sets can all be exported. The blue gear wheel and an export button sends it out to everybody on the team. So if you're creating custom tool sets, you can do it with the gear wheel, just like with the profiles. You can click the add button, add a new tool set, and then you can export that tool set for everybody else on the team to use. Really easy functionality to help us communicate in a way that works with the way that we work. As a contractor, I was always a very visual person. I assume you guys are too. It's nice to have this represented visually in a way that's easy to understand. Now, the final step in reviews, of course, is getting everybody's comments compiled onto the same document and then having a meeting, coming up with meeting notes, assigning responsibilities, and taking care of what's on the page, right? If there's a list of changes here, then who's taking care of those changes? Where's that work being done? Down here in the bottom of the interface, and also again in that tab access, is this markups list. And the markups list has every comment that was made on this document. It includes a variety of information on it. For this one, we've got page labels, authors, the date and time that the comment was made, what the comment is, the subjects, a status field, and all of these comment columns can be turned on and off. There's quite a few of them. So for example, I'm going to turn off some spaces and layers. And what you'll notice now is I've got an uncluttered list. However, maybe I want a check mark. I want to be able to check off once these things are completed. And there we go. We now have a check mark box there. Now, one of the most important parts of a review, as you probably guessed, is the other people doing the review with us. You can import all of their comments very easily with this import button. So I'm going to come in to my import comments. I have comments from an architect, a contractor, and an engineer. No more interns copying this over by hand with a pen and paper. No more question as to who made which comments. I have just added all of those comments onto this page. I'm going to real quickly delete my highlight comment here, just because that's cluttering up the page. And now what you'll notice is that we've got a full list of everyone's comments on this document. There's quite a bit going on, but that color coding that they used, again, with the architect, the engineer, and the contractor, makes it really easy to tell who said what on this document. We can sort by any of these columns here, or we can filter so that we just, for example, see the contractor's comments. So this is what we want to deal with today. Now we can jump through, see all of those comments. We know who authored them, the date and time they authored them. And we can set statuses. Okay, so for example, is this a chase? Provide the dimensions. We could accept, reject, cancel, or complete. Maybe not as useful for a review, but if we were doing the punch process, that would be a great feature for us to use there in Punch. We can also add custom columns. Now we're going to talk a bit about custom columns in terms of being able to do formulas in just a little bit, but for right now, I'm just going to make a basic text column. We have lots of options. This is going to be a responsibility column. And what I'm going to do is click OK here, and now start typing in some names. So for example, I'm going to take care of the question of, is this a shelf? But maybe I want my colleague John to take care of providing the sink spec. And we're going to have Sarah take care of, is this a chase, provide dimensions. Okay. We can be assigning these left and right to each other. I could even have a selection box. And you'll notice as I start typing, review starts autofilling. I can now sort by this responsibility and then create a task list for all of us by using the summary button. That task list could be a CSV summary. I know a lot of us work in Excel still. We could print this to paper. You all know that guy in the office who still wants paper. You can still provide him paper. But I'm going to provide a PDF summary, and I'm going to append it to the current PDF so that there's hyperlinks between the current PDF and the task list. So this is task list contractor comments. Click OK here. And what we've got now is a summary of all of these comments. So here are all of the comments. No one's assigned. Here's all of Sarah's comments that she's responsible for. If Sarah were coming through and she'd gotten this list and she didn't know where that question came from, is this a chase, provide dimensions, she could actually click. You'll notice this is appended to the current PDF, and as she clicks, it jumps her into the first page of that PDF. Here we go. Sarah's can then zoom out, realize that this is room 149 based on the door label, and see where it is within the context of the rest of the drawing. So very easy for Sarah to find exactly what she's looking for and where it is so that she can actually solve the problem. I'm going to briefly pause to check the question window. I don't see any questions, but again, feel free to type those in. Oh, it looks like I did find one. How do you undo an edit? So if you've made an edit to something, an undo is very quick. So I'm going to edit this real quick. Control Z undoes the edit. So same thing here. I could delete a word. Control Z would undo my edit. Okay, so great question. You've also got under edit, you've got the ability to go through and within the history undo and redo changes. Great questions. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue on with the presentation. So we talked about doing reviews in an offline way. These same tools you saw for reviews easily work for the punch process, right? Because as you're doing punch or snagging, you're going through and you're figuring out where the issues are. You want to place a comment, what the issue is. And actually in review, I talked about these profiles. There's actually a punch profile or snagging profile that includes a variety of symbols that are pre-made. If you click to the side of the symbols on the blue gear wheel and you say detail, you can actually see the subject and the comment. So you can see that, for example, this is for a caulk joint that's uneven or missing. It needs to be repaired. You could place that on the page. What I want to talk about, though, is I want to talk about how we make this a more efficient process, because the way that we showed the review or the way that we would do a punch, given the way that we've been working, this is all offline, right? We email out a document to someone, they provide us their comments, we import them, we have our meeting together. But what if we could have our meeting live together on the same document? Okay, that's where we come in with Bluebeam Studio. So I'm going to clean things up, come into a studio session. Studio has sessions and projects. Projects is a light document management system, makes it really easy for these documents to go mobile in the field. They can be accessed from an iPad or a Windows tablet PC and marked up using the same set of tools. Here, though, within Studio Sessions, what I've got going on is a live session. Now, my colleagues Nick and Brian are unavailable to join me right now, but we were commenting yesterday afternoon live in real time. So 2:14 Pacific time here. We were all commenting together on this document. We could also be commenting at different times. My colleague Brian jumped in after I left for the day. And Brian asks if we could make this double door even size, okay? He's on the contractor's team, doesn't understand why we've got different sized doors here. Well, that's a great question. Why do we have different sized doors here? So let's go ahead. I'm going to respond to him. So here within my architect comments, I'm just going to take a call out. He's already made the cloud. I'm going to say, oh, didn't notice that. Let me get the team on it, right? And we'll go ahead and get our team on to fixing the problem here with the doors that are uneven sizes. Maybe the doors were uneven sizes for a reason. I could also go ahead and just comment that, hey, we did this on purpose. Please build according to the specs, right? Whatever that answer needed to be, I can provide that answer to Brian. And I can notify Brian that I have answered him. So I can alert him to the notice there. He in his notifications panel would get a notification from me. It would prompt him then to jump back into the studio session because he would also receive an email. And that email would be like, hey, you've got a notification, jump back into the studio session. So even though we're collaborating at different times, I can still update him on what's going on. If he were here live though, as he placed comments, I would see them update live right in my screen. Now, one of the things about collaboration like this is, are your comments safe, right? Can you get the same accountability that you would have gotten by writing that comment onto a piece of paper? And I'm happy to say that the answer is yes. So here, as you can tell, I've got the ability to edit all of my comments, right? I can auto size my text boxes, move them around, but here's Brian's comment, and you'll notice I've got gray points here. They were yellow on mine, they're gray over here. I can't make any edits to his comment. It's locked in place. I keep moving the page every time I try to edit it. And that's because the only person who can edit a comment is the person who placed that comment in the first place. If you look into my settings here and you look at permissions, there is no permission that says to be able to edit someone else's comments, right? They're just not allowed, okay? So he knows that I can't edit his comments, work on his comments, and I know that he can't edit mine either. Okay, complete accountability. Now you notice that the tool chest worked in real-time collaboration. So do all of the markup tools that you've seen so far today. And down here, all of the markups list. But in addition to the markups list, all of the statuses, any custom columns we've previously set up and have imported here, we do have some really cool functionality, and that is here in this record. This record has been tracking everything that has been done in this session. Whenever a status was changed, a comment was made, if I delete a comment, those deleted comments would show up here too, and it would say that it was deleted. So for example, Brian deleted an engineering comment, but we can know that that comment, where it was, because it shows the view that he was in when he deleted that comment. Okay, so really easy to track all of this stuff, and all of this can be put into a report, so we can have a complete meeting notes from our review meeting, or again, our punch process, or any other workflow where we're doing a live review. Maybe it's a submittal, we're doing a review of the structural steel shop drawings, right? So these are all things that we can review in real time. I'm going to make a PDF package report because what it'll do is it'll take a snapshot of all 3 PDFs as they are today and then include a report of everything that's in the record. Save this down to my desktop, and as you'll see, it comes up. It's got a folder with all of the documents. It's also got a folder, or there's my documents. It's also back in this top level, got our report, and that report is hyperlinked. So if, for example, I were to jump down to the comment I placed, or Brian's comment, make this double door even size, I click on it, it jumps me to that comment in the document. So it's all hyperlinked to the views. Makes it very easy to get through our documents. Now here's where things get really cool with Studio Sessions. Studio Sessions is live, real-time collaboration, but it also works offline because what happens in the field? 9 times out of 10, we're walking the site and the Wi-Fi drops out. Well, guess what? With Studio Sessions, if we're walking the site doing a punch process, we're reviewing field issues, doing a site survey and inspection, right? We can still work on these documents. We're still placing comments. So I can still come in. I can grab some of my comments here. Maybe I'll be a contractor right now. There's a crack in the wall. Okay. That's an issue right here in the field, needs to get dealt with. Maybe I even wanted to attach a picture from my camera using my tablet. Luckily, my PC today has a camera, so you can get this lovely picture of me to throw in there. And now that's actually attached to this comment. I can attach additional photos or even video footage from the field. I could attach additional pictures, including, for example, a 3D image. I don't know how many of you guys are using 3D cameras, but here we go. I've got a 360-degree camera. Here's a 360-degree photo that I've got of the site and of that issue. I can attach that right here. I could even rotate it around if I wanted to. Right now it's just attached here, but very easy to add these photos in. Here's our 360 photo in action. We can jump back to that photo I took with my camera. Very easy for us to get all of that information communicated. And you'll notice I've done this all offline. It's all sitting here in my pending. As soon as I go back online, everybody who's back in the mobile trailer, back in the office, is going to see all of those comments and immediately be able to act on them. Real-time collaboration, online or offline, anytime, anywhere, really important to the way that you're doing your work. So if you're really going to go paperless, go full bore, really work with all of your documents in a way that makes it easy for everybody to access them. I'm going to leave this studio session, take myself back into the world of offline to talk about editing PDFs and doing measurements. Before I do, just a quick note, in addition to real-time collaboration, if you just wanted to host your documents online and be able to access them on a check-in and check-out basis, you can do that too with Studio Projects here. Okay, so here in this Studio Project, I've got all files, so it's not just PDFs at this point. This supports image files, it's got RFIs, including an RFI log, all of the sheets. And these are things that are all accessible on a check-in, check-out basis. So to open it up, it's a double click, and then it's just a right click, either here on the right or up at the top to check it out, place a comment, and then there's a revision history of all of the changes that have been made to that document. And you can open previous revisions and look at work that's previously been done. So for example, seeing the comments that were on at this date and time, we can come through and see what comments were made then. Okay. So a light document management system, it's got quite a few security settings, so you can easily give individual people the ability to read and write, read only, for example, or even for individual folders, read, write, and delete, or hide them all together. Maybe you don't want field reports being shown to the engineering team. Very easy to change the permissions there. So let's look now at some more basic tools for going paperless, because we've talked about reviews, we've talked about punch, things that we do on large format documents, typically sometimes on our more smaller documents. But a lot of what we end up doing with paper is putting together submittals, RFIs, right? There's all sorts of little things that go on that aren't necessarily a big fancy review with lots of people. And we need tools to be able to take care of all of those compilations, put together those packages, highlight the right information for the right people. I'm going to come in once again to that file access section, and I'm going to open up my specifications again here. And then I'm going to come across to what's called the thumbnails tab. And here in the thumbnails tab, what you can see is all of the pages of this document. And this works for any document with multiple pages. And we can jump through this document to any page and edit it. Now with a right click, you'll notice I've got quite a few different editing options here. We can insert blank pages or throw some pages at the top. Maybe there's a cover sheet for this specification. Insert pages would allow us to choose that cover sheet here. Or to insert a blank page, we could even choose from one of the templates that's built in. So maybe throw a memorandum template after the first page. Here we go. Throw that in and send this off. Okay. Or move it up. Maybe it's supposed to be before the first page. There we go. We just dragged and dropped it up. We can also right click. We can rotate pages, replace pages. So if you have a page that has markups on it and you just need to replace the page content, replace pages allows you to select your new page. So just going to come in and pick another spec that would be the right size. Okay. Just remove that page, replace the page content only. Click OK. Now you'll notice I've got a different spec here, but I just replaced the page content. Rotating pages, numbering pages, pretty much whatever we want to do. We can apply stamps to pages. So let's say that you are signing off on something. Review has a variety of built-in stamps. Any stamps you're currently using in other PDF programs can also be imported, so you can import that stamp here. But let's say that this is for review. I'm going to drag that for review stamp. I'm going to rotate it. I want this on every page, so I'm going to right click and I'm going to apply this now to all of our pages. As we scroll through this document, what you'll notice is that the for review stamp shows up on all of the pages. That is a really awkward place for it on some of these pages, but you get the point. You can place it on all of your pages with ease. There are also header and footer tools. So coming back into the document section here, you'll notice that we can apply headers and footers. We can apply page numbers, dates, any of the file data, whether that's a file name, the project, any data that's stored with this file can be placed up in the header and footer. And we can easily throw that in. Actually, let me go ahead and take that project name. We're going to make the project name airport. Oops, looks like there's no value for that one on this document. There is a title here though, so we'll put the title up in the upper left. Click OK, and you'll notice that that now shows up on every page here. So we can format this any way we want. The final option that we have in terms of major editing tools is we've got both a variety of text review tools, so we can come through and, for example, strike through text. Please take this out. You know, do squiggly lines, even do a spell check. We can also come through in the edit section and we can edit the content in here. So with this edit text, I can now change the text here. So subject to compliance with all requirements, throw that in, and maybe from members of the SFIA organization. Or I can take stuff out. Maybe I don't need comparable, right? So we can edit these documents up. We should probably go ahead and cloud it because we did make changes. So coming back to the markups again, cloud, we've changed this section. Take a look at it. Makes it clear for everyone to see what's going on. So we can edit PDFs. We can also compile PDFs really quickly, and I want to show that with RFIs because I don't know how many of you have put together an RFI, but the more information you can provide, the easier it is to work on that RFI. So I'm going to create an RFI. I'm going to start here with my RFI template, and I'm really quickly going to create a form out of it so it's easy to fill in these fields. So here's my form now. It includes a place for a digital signature and places for me to type all of the information that I need. I'm also going to come in and I'm going to insert a new blank page. So I'm going to go after the first page. And that way I can go ahead and add in information. So coming back to my first floor plan, not my punch example, but my regular floor plan, let's come back to that stairwell. Remember the stairwell we saw here? Let's see that there's a question about how far the railing should extend past the landing. Or even better, let's do it with this stairwell here. Okay, let's come in, edit. I'm going to take a snapshot here. This is like a screenshot of this section of the design. I'm going to paste it into the RFI here. So right click and paste that. I'm going to full page this so that I can see it better. And then I'm just going to flatten it into the page. That makes sure that it doesn't show up as a markup, it shows up as PDF content. And here I'm going to place my comment that says, how far does the handrail extend past each landing? Okay, so there's the question. Back on the first page of my RFI, scrolling up, I could throw in all the other information, but I'm just going to say, how far does the handrail extend past the landing? See the next page for the locate the stairwell in question. Ideally, the stairwell would also have a number of things like that I could have referenced here. My design is not the best, but it works. It gets the message across. How far does this extend? At this point, I could save it with my RFI number as an open RFI and actually post it here onto the document. RFI 100 open. And with a right click, I could use this edit action button to actually hyperlink to that document there. So we could open a document and hyperlink to it. Once the architect received this, the architect could come through. They could answer it real quick, maybe with a dimension tool. Use here in lines, dimension, use that there, and say that that should extend 6 inches. The other thing that the architect could do here is they could actually insert some 3D content. So here under edit, they could come in with this 3D editor. Maybe they actually have that stairwell. So I'm going to come in here into my 3D content. And let's see if I've got that stairwell still. Oh, I used to have a stairwell. We'll use a different one here in our 3D. Here's a look at our rotunda window. Put it onto a white background, and now here's 3D content. They could mark up this 3D content. So again, all these markup tools really cool. So they could use that all there. We could then navigate around the model. When they send this to us, click here and see the comment that they made on that 3D model. Okay, so it would give the architect lots of ways to respond to this RFI. It gives us lots of ways to communicate what's wrong. We could easily insert images, put anything that we've got in the field into this RFI. So very easy for us to compile documents, compile our comments. I'm going to take a quick break and check the question window here. Just realized I haven't checked it in a little bit. Lots of great ones here. Okay. I'm going to leave a lot of these towards the end. We've got some good ones I think are going to take a little longer right now. But a great question. Can you combine individual spec sections in a Word document into one PDF? The answer there is yes. I'm going to open up my spec here. I've got my RFI. Maybe we needed to reference a specific page from the spec. So I'm going to right-click the page in the spec. I'm going to come back into my RFI, and I'm actually just going to paste the page there. And now what you'll see is that page from the spec is here. You know, I could then highlight the section that needs to be looked at. and put a cloud around it and say, look here, dummy. At least that's what architects, I feel like, say to contractors, on the contractor side, sorry. But go ahead, circle that out, let them know this is where you want to look for the answer. So great question there. Okay. Great. Another great question here for the split screen. So if I'm going to split my screen here, how do I zoom in on one and zoom out on the other? So as I split my screen here, you'll notice right now I can zoom out on the left and zoom in on the right. So here we go, I've got the two here. If I were to click the sync button, I would be both zoomed out or both zoomed in. If I unclick sync though, I get the freedom to zoom separately on both sides though. Okay, so a good question there. Make sure that that sync is turned off. With that, there's a lot of questions. I'll get to those at the end. I do want to cover, though, all of these measurement tools for you before we continue on, because the last real step here for us in terms of replacing paper in the work that we do, we've replaced it in reviews, we've replaced it in compiling submittals and RFIs and other information. The last place that we use a lot of paper outside of inspections, site surveys, RFI submittals, reviews is in the takeoff process. Now, I know some of you have likely gone digital with this already. There are some tools out there, but for those of you who haven't, I want to introduce you to the measurement tools in review as a way to take the process of doing your quantity takeoffs and then ultimately creating your bids into a paperless process. So here we go. I'm going to start with this PDF. Now the PDF does not have a scale on it, but it does have known measurements. And from those known measurements, we can take care of all of the work that we need to do here. So I'm going to calibrate this PDF to 2 points. I have 23.5 inches, 23 feet, 0.5 inches. Okay. I'm going to click OK there, and I'm going to take a reference measurement to make sure that we've got this measurement right. And what you'll notice is that 6'5". I'm just going to triple check this. There's 4'4". This document is now calibrated. And once the document's been calibrated, we can go through and provide a variety of measurements on the page. Now, with any of these measurement tools, whether that's a perimeter, area, a poly length, we can quickly just drag and drop to get where we need to go, or we can click points to create our area measurements or volume measurements or any of these measurements, okay? What I want to show you right now, though, is a pretty cool tool here, and this is dynamic fill, and dynamic fill makes the process very simple for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define 2 regions. Set some boundaries here, and I can make these boundaries thinner if I want, but I'll leave them a little thick for now, just for the presentation today. And then I'm going to select my other tool here, this fill, and I'm going to fill in the interior. Okay. Now notice I didn't have to pick a lot of spots. I just filled it in. At this point, I can apply any measurement that I want. Now I can apply just some default measurements, but if I change into my takeoffs profile, I actually have here in the tool chest some area measurements that have some different settings on them. They're already preset. All of these measurement tools, again, completely customizable, just like the markup tools. We can go into the properties and customize them. So I'm going to actually take this area measurement that's called general measurements, or actually resurfacing for concrete. Let's say it's going to be a concrete floor. Let's say I also want to get the perimeter of the room or the poly length, so that I know the length of each of these sides, right, for maybe some wood paneling. We could do that there. Why we would apply wood paneling, it's so 70s, but it's so fantastic. And here we go. What we've got here is we've got our 2 measurements. It automatically applied our flooring measurement here. If I shift click, I can move this inside. It's also got our measurement of our perimeter. And with the poly length, we've actually got every individual side. So you'll notice this side is 8 foot 6 inches. This one's 1 foot 7. This one's 2 foot 6. Man, that's a little cluttered. It's a little hard to read. So what I'm going to do is come into my properties here, align those all horizontally, and then, oh, it even still looks hard here. So we'll just turn off the segment values. But the segment values are all captured for us. So we still have them as individual segment values. And that all got captured with just a quick click. For that poly length, we could also add in, just looking at that here, we could come back into the measurement. We could add in a rise or drop. For example, if these were pipes, we could do the rise to the next floor. Add depth. This is supposed to be 96 inches tall. So we can add a depth of 96 inches here. And that way we could get a surface area for that, okay? Or a wall area. We can also look here again at our resurfacing and do the same thing. Add in a depth maybe of 8 feet or again 96 inches to match. All of that's there. And then best of all with all of this, because I've been working here in Imperial all day, you can quickly change this all to metric. So you can quickly come through and say that you want this to be in centimeters instead. We can, we've got everything calibrated at this point, and we can recalculate any of our measurements to all be in centimeters. Okay, so we can easily change our units and work around our document the way that we need to. Now, I mentioned the markups list again because that markups list is really helpful for us when we were working with markups, right? Because we were able to take all of this information out to a PDF. As we work with our measurements, we can take all of this information out to a CSV and use it in our Excel workbook. We could also actually automatically tie it to an Excel spreadsheet. It's a more advanced tip I'm not going to show you today, but just know that there's lots of ways to get this into Excel for all of the work that we do with estimation, or out to XML if you guys are using that to import into a third-party bid program. What I want to show you right now, though, is with those custom columns, because I mentioned that we can set a variety of custom columns up to perform a variety of functions for us. So here are the built-in columns. With the custom columns, we've got a couple of different ones. One of them is the ability to do materials as a choice. So if I make this materials and I say add an item such as wood paneling, and we know that that wood paneling costs us, for example, for every foot of length, it's going to cost us $6 in wood paneling, or $12, probably more realistic. Okay, so now we can put that in. I could also add in our concrete for the resurfacing. Maybe it's concrete 1, and again, that one, let's say that one's $2.24 per square foot. I can also then add in a formula. So that formula can be subtotal. And what I'll do is I'll take the measurement. The measurement column is based on the type of measurement you took, so it'll use the length. For our poly length, it'll use the area for our area measurement. So we're going to take the measurement, we're going to multiply it by our new custom column, which was materials. We're going to use a format of a currency. We're going to use the dollar. Click OK. Now what you'll see, I have 2 new columns here. So as I click, for example, let's come down here to our concrete. I'm going to make that the concrete, and now I've got a subtotal for the price of the concrete. It takes our measurement, which for this one is the area, and by the way, I'll turn on that measurement column so you can see it. So that measurement is the area here, and it multiplies it by our material cost. Same thing, you'll notice this length here. Let's find our length that we're looking for. Perfect. So here's the length for that room. As I choose our wood paneling, it's again taking that measurement and multiplying it by the wood paneling cost. So really all the work that we're doing today in paper, we can take digital. There's a variety of tools out there to do it. And here's one way that you can take all of your workflows from the time at which your design officially gets sent off for review straight through to the point at which the project is closed out, handed over to the owner, and digitize those together. The features you've seen today, most of them are available in Review for iPad. You can do reference measurements on the iPad. You can look at the markups list, everything in the tool chest, everything in the markup tools, all available on the iPad. And if you're using a Windows tablet PC, you've got the full version of Review. Every feature you've seen today works there. Okay. I'm going to open up for our live Q&A in just a second. Looks like you've been asking lots of great questions today. But before I do that, I want to officially close out our presentation. So this concludes the American Institute of Architects Continuing Education Systems course. So congratulations, everybody. You've made it through. If you have any questions that we don't get answered in the live Q&A today, if you're looking for a 30-day trial or would like to learn more about any of Bluebeam's products or Review in particular, feel free to reach out to SolidCAD. Joanne Bugaya and Dan Coogan over there will be more than happy to help you out, can take care of any questions that you may have. With that, let's go ahead and get started with our live Q&A today. So exiting out of the slides again, back into Review. Looks like we have a lot of great questions here. Okay, so great question right off the dot. If you use your iPad, is there an offline option? And the answer there is yes. So whether you're using your iPad with Studio Sessions, which I showed you earlier, or Studio Projects, there's offline options. On Studio Sessions, of course, as long as the document's opened while you're connected to the internet, you can go offline and immediately begin working on that document again. Okay, so as long as you're on the internet to start, you can go offline, no problem. With Studio Projects, what's really cool about projects is you can actually sync documents for offline access. So for example, I have my architectural sheets here. I know that today I'm doing a review of the first floor. So I'm going to do a site survey of the first floor and inspection, right? Here we go. I have included these in my sync. I'm now going to sync them down to my computer. Review is going to sync a local copy. It works very similarly on the iPad, and it's just syncing. It's looking at all of these documents, but it's just syncing the 3 that I have synced for offline access. At this point, these documents are synced. I likely want to check them out before I go offline, but that's not necessarily something I have to do. It's a little risky to check them out after you're offline, but I'll check them out now. They're in my seed. No one else can be working on these documents. I can go offline. I could even leave this project, come back into the project. I won't be able to access all of the documents since I left the project, but all 3 of these documents that I had synced locally, it's no problem for me to open them up and start working on them. Okay, so I can be working on this all the time as I need it. Once I'm back online again, I can go through and I can check them back in and do my checkout, but I've had a local copy here. So very easy to go through and take care of all of these files here. And that sync works on the iPad just like it does on any Windows tablet or Windows PC. Great question. Let's see, what else have we got here? Okay. Can your profile be used on many devices, PC, laptop, iPad? So a review is registered per device. So in terms of if you're looking at a registered profile, the software is registered per device, but your studio profile, so for example, my studio login here, I use the studio login also on a Windows tablet PC that I've got at home. I use the studio login also on an iPad. You can log in from anywhere. If I sign out, you'll notice I can log in wherever I want to with this studio login. So very easy to do there. And thankfully, I remembered my password. Good news, guys. Let's see. While we're in Studio, just checking to see if we had any other ones here. Okay. Just a note for Studio here, anyone who you invite to attend a Studio project or Studio sessions can get in at no charge. They would use Bluebeam's free viewer, Bluebeam View, or a trial, free 30-day trial of the software, and they would be able to attend your session or project, use all of the markup tools, and begin working on the documents. So a great one here. Coming back into PDF editing, we got a couple of questions about, oh no, I've got one more for Studio Sessions. Where do you save the file that is being reviewed? Okay, so the file for review, if it's an offline review, you can of course email it out or you can save it to a network location. With Studio Sessions, as you're reviewing this document, it's actually being uploaded to the cloud. So it's saved in the cloud, you work on it from the cloud, and then at any point you can save it down with a local to a local computer. So close these all down. Nope, the right click's up here. Right click, save as, and you can save a local copy of it as it looks that day. Same thing with that record. I've been saving that record down locally. So as I put the report together, I like to do a local copy of that. Again, this could be saved to a network location. If you wanted to, you could even save these to a studio project as you're done with them so everyone else can access them. Okay, great questions. Okay, coming back into the editing tools, one of the editing questions that came up, I guess I answered the wrong question in terms of combining multiple specs. You can combine multiple specs within Review. You can also combine multiple specs when you create them. So whether that's from Word, and actually, let's go ahead and look at this from Word here right now. So coming into my specs, okay, I can open my concrete specs here in Word, or my metal framing specs. I have our plugin up here so I can create a PDF. One of the options here is to batch PDF. So I can batch create individual PDFs or I can combine multiple PDFs at once. When I click that, it actually opens a dialog box. I'm going to make a new batch here. I'm going to do one output file, but I'm going to add multiple files to it. So here, as I look at my files, come into my original documents and my specs, I could pick, for example, all three of these and have it output combined specs. Okay, and then I would save that, for example, to my desktop. Click OK, and now when I hit the run button here, it would create that PDF that has all three of those combined. Okay, so I'm going to start that. And it's going ahead, it's converting all three of those PDFs for me. Takes it just a second to go through and process all of those PDFs, but at the end of it all, we'll have a high quality combined document. So here we go, and it's saving our batch process. We could save this so that if we knew that we wanted to combine our specs every time, we could run it the same way. It works for pretty much any document that you can convert here, which is great. And coming in now to my desktop, just going to open my combined specs. And now what you'll notice here in the thumbnails tab is I've got my specs combined together. Looks like I only took one page from each, but it would, depending on the settings and how I had set it up, I'm sure I messed with my print settings for another demo. It would include other information in it. Okay, so Good question there. And of course, with one click, I can just create a PDF right here in Word or also in Excel or PowerPoint. Great questions. Okay. Are these tools available in all versions of Bluebeam Review? Yes, everything that I showed you today is available except for the automatic form creation. The automatic form creation that I used on that RFI form is only in Review Extreme, but everything else is available in Review Standard, CAD, or Extreme. Great questions. Okay. How compatible is this software with other PDF editing software that other consultants, clients, etc. might be using? The answer to that is completely compatible. PDF as a file format is an ISO standard file format. What that means is that there's a board, it's independent of any company, and it creates the standards for how these documents work. Now, every markup on the page, every measurement on the page, all compatible. Any edits that you make, they'll all be viewable in Acrobat, in Foxit, Nuance, Power PDF, right? Whatever product your customer is using, the owner is using, they can open this PDF. There's just one thing that does not exist, and that is that capture. If you'll remember, I attached the image to the markup. So you remember I added my picture, right, with the camera. That is the only thing that is not compatible. Everything else will show up in these other programs. This particular part, you'll notice it puts this little camera image here. That's only in Review or Bluebeam View. But when you create your summaries, one of the things you can do is create a capture summary that just includes those images and still send them off to the other people. Completely compatible. Okay. By the way, the same thing if the owner is using Acrobat or someone else on your project team is using Acrobat, Foxit, Power PDF, any comments that they make will show up in Review, and you'll be able to see what metadata is stored with them down here in the markups list. I will tell you most programs don't capture this much information with every markup that gets placed on a page, but where that information is captured, that information will show up here in Review. Great questions. Does Bluebeam link into AutoCAD? The answer there is yes. Bluebeam Review CAD and Extreme both include plugins for AutoCAD to either batch create PDFs from AutoCAD or just create single PDFs in a single click. Great question. Does Bluebeam talk with electronic document management systems or EDMS systems? The answer there is also yes. It depends on the system. Right now, Bluebeam has direct integrations with Bentley ProjectWise and Microsoft SharePoint. For other document management systems, we do have advanced solutions that allow you to use our API to talk to create applications or use applications that have been already created by third parties to talk with electronic DMS systems. SolidCAD would be happy to help you out with any questions that you have about that. If you want to reach out to them, they can tell you more about those options and get you in touch with someone here at Bluebeam. Great. How quickly do file sizes creep up with photos or comments embedded? That is a great question. So let's look at file sizes right now. I'm going to come in and show you what this document looks like right now. So I am using the version of this document from Compare Documents. So what you'll notice is that this document, A1.1.1 first floor plan south, is currently 204 kilobytes. I'm going to do a save as on this. I'm going to call it version or call it with image. So I just have one image in this. And what you're going to notice now as I come into that same folder is that I've just jumped it 500 kilobytes because I've added that image in. Depending on the resolution of your images, this will either balloon really quick or really slowly. So something to keep in mind as you are adding images is maybe don't add your highest resolution images. Add something that's a little lower resolution because every image that gets added, it gets added at the size of that image. So if it's a 2 megabyte image, it will add 2 megabytes to the size of that file. great question. Another question here that is another good one here. How do you reinstall Bluebeam on a new computer and delete it from the old one? So for those of you who are getting review moved to another computer, you can come into help, and up here is the Bluebeam administrator, and from that administrator you can take care of unregistering review, and then all you have to do is go into all programs and do the right click uninstall. So very simple, easy to do. You could also just click the unregister button here. When you click to register again, it'll actually give you your serial number. The product key is grayed out, so you'll have to ask whomever has that license in your company to give you the product key. But once you have the serial number and product key, you would just type it into the new software and click register. And all good to go. Oh, here's a great question we've got here. How easy is it to batch export? I assume that you are talking about batch exporting. Actually, that's a good question. What are you talking about batch exporting? If you can clarify that question, I'm happy to answer it here. If it's batch exporting from the markups list, we do have a feature in Review Extreme called batch summary that would allow you to summarize, to create a summary from multiple markup lists at once. If you're looking to batch export tool sets, you can do that through the gear wheel. If you're looking to batch export something else, just let me know what it is you want to batch export, and you can we can answer that real quick. Let's see, what else have we got here? Does Bluebeam use individual licensing, or is it a floating license system? Bluebeam has two different types of licensing models. You can get a review as a perpetual license that you buy it once and you own it for life, and it's an individual license that's locked to the computer. We do also have a floating license system called open licensing that allows you to have a pool of seats that float. SolidCAD can help you with more information on both of those. And make this easy on you guys, just pop up their information once again. Since I've answered a couple questions by directing you to them, you should probably have their contact information for that. Let's see. Does Bluebeam have blocks that can be inserted, such as ISA valve types? There are a variety of tools for review that you can access around on our website. So hopefully everyone's had a chance to copy down a little bit of contact information. I'm going to jump back out of the slide here into review. I'm going to open a web tab. Something I didn't show earlier in review, you can access the web from the software. So if you were, for example, trying to access the support site, you could come in, type support.bluebeam.com in the search bar down below. And then one of the cool things here, we can go into review for Windows, and I think it works for all of them. But here, right at the top, is review extensions. And review extensions shows some pre-made stamps, tool sets, profiles, and dictionaries that you can drop in. I know with the tool sets, there's quite a few different ones, including different types of valves and things like that. And they change based on the discipline that you pick. So hopefully some of those work for you. If not, it's really easy to create new symbols. All you have to do is use that snapshot tool. So just going to real quickly delete that, edit, snapshot, take that out, and paste right here. And now what you'll notice is here under recent tools, I have that as a symbol that I can save. Close that up real quick, make it easy to see. I can replace this on the page. In terms of an insertable block library outside of this, We don't really have any other libraries there. Review's not a design software. It's really intended for collaboration and communication, making sure that information gets shared with people in the right format at the right time in a way that they can access easily. Good questions, though. Can you compress the size of a PDF? The answer there is yes. So if you end up getting sent a really large PDF, it was created with a plugin or program that doesn't make small PDFs, you can come into Document, Process, and reduce the file size. And with reduced file size, you can choose the quality that you're looking for, or maybe you want it compressed a lot, and even create your own custom presets. Great question. Great. Oh, another question. Can PDFs be sent by email omitting these components to reduce file size? The answer there is yes. The email button in Review will attach the document the way it is at this time, including all of the images. But if you were to come through, you could very quickly delete any images that you placed on the page here, and then just click the capture and delete it, save as, and then click the email button. It'll pop up in an email in your default program, such as Outlook, or whatever your default mail program is, as long as it's a desktop client, and then attach it and you can send it right out. Great question. Just double checking to make sure I didn't miss any questions here, because I don't see any new ones at the moment. Okay. I don't see any other questions. That being said, if you think of something, feel free to type it in. We'll stick around for just another minute or two. And of course, you can also always just email it to SolidCAD or call SolidCAD with the question, and they can go ahead and help get that answered for you. Well, with that, I think we don't have any new questions. So it looks like we're all done for today. Thank you all so much for attending. It was really great to be able to share with you some of the best practices for going green with Bluebeam Review. And I look forward to seeing you all in the future. Thanks a lot.